Dog. Undead Unluck. Chapter 111. We're finally getting close to that point where I can say, yeah, we're gonna have another loop, within the next couple chapters. But how the are we gonna get there? And we got a little bit more insight into how that's going to occur, and we finally get to see that Andy, he's taken up the resolve of an individual like Victor, and he has really accepted this path that he has to take to accomplish defeating God. But let's get into the review of chapter 111. Rumor. So I gotta say, we have not seen a happy chapter in a long time, but I think we're finally beginning to see the sunshine peek in from the rain, I guess to say. The first thing I want to talk about is Rip's true motive. During the beginning of this chapter, we get to see Rip talking to Latla and speaking about how he says, I'll go through the loop and get a second chance at Layla's operation. Going to appoint somebody to perform the surgery under my instruction since, he believed he was the coldest motherfucker around, and that was going to be their plan to, try to save Layla. But it's kind of weird that he says this because Latla replies, what about Ragnarok? If you go through to this next loop, that's not going to really solve the big problem that the entire world is actually dealing with, and especially in the Gators and people who are entombed into this side of the world, the Matrix type shit. You should know that that's the real goal. That's the real thing that we need to be worried about. But Rip says right here, I don't give a damn. As long as I save Layla, it might be okay, and even wonders, would it be wrong if it all ended that way? And this is a very odd thought, and I know that we've been speaking about how Rip is a very selfish individual, but I feel like he's still rational. And I feel like an individual such as him, very intelligent, probably the most intelligent for just talking IQ level, not actually, maybe, his business sense, his street smarts, whatever the hell you want to say, but IQ level, a very, very, very intelligent individual in Rip, and he sounds kind of stupid right here. He just sounds like an idiot, and I'm going to mention this a bit later, but I think it could be alluding to something from a higher power, I guess to say. But the next thing I wanted to mention is Rip questioning Andy's resolve. Although Rip's obviously defeated, they're sitting there talking, and Rip doesn't believe that Andy can actually accomplish this goal. He kind of assumes, because he's such a smart dude, that Andy's going to go try to fix everything in this next loop. And when kind of berating him with questions about how he's going to do this, he says that, I don't believe you could possibly gather a group strong enough to defeat God. I don't think you can also right all the wrongs that you're assuming you can do. Things mentioned in last chapter, and especially the one that he actually is trying to accomplish right now, saving Layla. But he doesn't believe that he could probably accomplish, stopping Billy's betrayal or stopping Gina's death, for instance. And although these things weren't mentioned, these are just all those wrongs that Andy's actually in his head knowing he's going to try to go back and accomplish. And I kind of agree with Rip. It's almost a impossible hill to climb to think about going back and trying to save everything within the world. But as I was mentioning in the freaking my live reading of it, this is the Joy Boy. This nigga can do whatever the fuck he wants. Freaking Rip tells Andy that he won't be able to stop that fateful day whenever the surgery occurs. And I think Rip is mentioning this because Rip's only goal in life is to save Layla. So why would some stranger showing up the day of the surgery be able to stop him? But Andy even tells him right there, I don't give a dang, dog. I will be able to stop this, and you have to trust me. If you want to, wanna get this done, put your faith in me. And Latla even reassures Rip that these are the two individuals that can actually save you, that can save Layla. And this is an amazing thing to hear because I think this is what really staves over that beast within Rip, because Rip was even saying, he's like, nah nigga, I'm gonna do it. He was still in his headstrong shit. He doesn't even have legs right now. So it was a little bit annoying to see him, I don't know, trying to take up this. I'm the leader, I'm the only one who can accomplish this. It's the same thing that got him killed. It's the same thing that Latla had been worrying about his entire life, just him trying to accomplish this goal on his own and only doing it for his own sake. Pardon the change in scenery mid-editing, and I wanted to go back and re-record this part of the video just due to some incorrect thoughts being explained to you. And so whenever Andy leaves Rip and Latla, pulls up on little Lucy, our baby girl, we get some very interesting information. Lucy's just like, hey buddy, did you defeat him? And she's like, yeah, thank you, due to you pulling out the card. And this is very interesting because I forgot to mention this during the chapter 110 review and discussion. And I even really kind of looked past this whenever I was reading the chapter. It was very small panels and it was very hidden, Lucy's, I guess, involvement within this situation. But during chapter 110, whenever Andy gets pierced through the head, Lucy comes over and she's like, Mister, and is on top of him and is worried about him, obviously. And whenever Andy obviously pulls back up on Rip in that same chapter and looks at him on his Jason Voorhees shit, right there, Lucy's also in the background. And interestingly enough, in this chapter, we get the reveal that Lucy was the one who took the card out of Andy's head. And I guess my only thought about this was, how in the world did this happen? How did she have the wherewithal to take out the card from his head? Or was it presumably that Victor came about, like when Andy said, let me switch in? Did Victor come about, say really quickly, hey, take out the card? She took out the card and put it back in? Or what happened? I actually have no idea. I'm very confused with that part. I guess it's shown in Jump and you can't really be too confused about Deus Ex Machina. But I don't know. I guess we got that piece of information that our girl little Lucy is a lifesaver. But Andy was still in his Joy Boy superhero shit, and I mean Rip even said, I'll see you later, hero, hasta luego, mi amigo. But whenever Lucy's like, hey, my mom's still here, do you think that we're ever going to be able to heal her? Do you think there's going to be a medicine or some sort of cure for her? And Andy kind of has this defeated look on his face, because I think we all know, as he knows, he can't save her right now. But you know what? That's just another thing to put in the sack, another team to put on his back. As this nigga goes forth in this next loop and tries to save every single person who's came about and every single tragedy which has occurred in this loop. But following that cutaway from Lil Lucy, the goat, whenever Andy rides off on his bicycle, we finally get the moment we've all been waiting for. Rip and Latla Mira having their moment. Rip and Latla, sitting here on their deathbed, laying next to each other thanks to our good guy Andy putting them together, are kind of just questioning what just occurred. Rip is like, I don't know if any of this was worth it, but Latla tells him it was, obviously. Individuals that we met during this journey that we took up, such as Lil Lucky and Andy, are going to be the ones who are actually going to change the fate of this girl that we both love and are trying to save, Layla. But they're just sad, and Rip finally says the shit I've been saying for chapter after chapter after chapter, and it made me a bit upset. He says, but you've been the one that's been here every step of the way. And as they're about to die, Latla brings him in for a little and they get that little smooch on as Latla says goodnight to her dear prince. And man, this shit made me mad. Rip is the definition of an ain't shit nigga. An ASN is an individual that ain't about shit. They're a deadbeat. They will never amount to anything and have no purpose in life. None at all. And this applies to all people of all ethnicities. And an ASN such as Rip really makes sense because although he had a purpose, he really didn't. He wasn't trying to accomplish anything. He was trying to screw over the world, and he was trying to do some shit for some selfish means, and he was looking past the people who were actually within his life trying to help him out. And this is some ignorant ass thing to do. A lot of people move through life doing shit like this, where you have people around who you really care about you and really love you, but you neglect their feelings, you neglect their attention, and shit, I've done this before. I'm sure you've done it before. Whether it be your parents, whether it be your friend, whether it be a loved one, it doesn't really matter. You can't really just get away with being on your deathbed and saying, oh, you've always been here with me. That shit sucked. That girl literally loved him. That was some rude things to do. He's on this future behavior, and although I have to accept what he did, it's not gonna stick well with me. And I love you, Rip, and I'm really gonna miss you until we see you next, but that was a tarnishing on your persona. Afterwards, though, we get back to the main man, the main card, Andidone, Undead. As he was riding off on his custom bike, shout out my nigga Nico. Not really my nigga no more, but shout out my nigga Nico. On that bike, he's blasting it with blood, really trying to speed up to the Union. And as he pulls up to the Union, he pulls up over the giant hole created by Billy and Byrne, and you notice these two black balls that are floating. And I'm very interested to see what's going to occur next, because are we pulling up on Nico? Is that going to happen? Are we going to pull up to see Ghost? I think that's probably the least likely thing which may occur, just because Ghost pulled up on Nico a little bit ago, and whenever he pulled up on Nico afterwards was whenever Nico went fucking crazy. So I think that maybe Ghost left, as well as the fact that, Unruin and Seal, that's where they said that they were racing off to, and if Unruin pulled up, he presumably would have known that Andy was going to come following afterwards, because he literally said, nigga, let's go to the Union HQ and usher in God. So he's probably going to pull up, he probably would have told Uma Ghost, if Uma Ghost was there, yo, get out of here, you're my friend. Remember, Uma Ghost was looking for friends, and Unruin was kind of fucking playing his mind games with him, acting like they were best buds, just to get him to adhere to any sort of rules or anything he wanted to get done with him. So I think, Unruin probably would have said, hey, Ghost, get out of here. One of my friends is going to come here, and he wants to eat Fuko or some shit, Because I know Unruin and Uma Ghost said he was saving Fuko, and obviously she's still alive, hopefully. Pero very interested to see what sort of state the Union HQ is going to be within, because from what we saw and from the numbers we saw, Nico destroyed everything in the place. Presumably there's a bunch of Umas that are all gone, and or maybe even just been released, running around the Union HQ just bopping, blooping, and blashing everything. So that's going to be something really weird to see as he comes in there. Maybe this God of Death persona is going to come about quicker than we thought, and Andy's going to have to go slicing and dicing through the Union HQ. I know Shin and Mui may be there still just because, they got their ass kicked and they're probably, out of commission a little bit, but hopefully we could get a little bit more explanation from them as to why maybe Nico did what he did, how he did what he did, because like I said, we've really only seen him fight once or twice within the series. I know the one time whenever they originally pull up on Victor way back when that happened, and that he just really used those little two balls, the two balls that were floating up on top of the Union's hull. So I just don't know if those two balls have the stopping power to bop Shin and Mui, because it looked like Shin just got punched into a fucking wall, and it looked like Mui had just gotten her butt kicked too. They didn't get incineration lasered, they just got their ass kicked. So I want to see how Nico fights. I want to see why he did what he did, and I just want to see what that woman was to him. What is Nico's backstory to make him such a person that he has ties to the Union and he loves them, not loves them, but he works for them, and he at least didn't betray them till now. That nigga ripped his shit off and threw it to the wolves. I don't know. But this is what I wanted to mention. Sorry, it's taken me a long time too. But earlier, whenever I was saying that it's weird that Rip was thinking that it would be okay, maybe, what would be wrong with him dying to God, dying to Ragnarok? I wonder if God is making people act rash right now. There's a lot of people who have acted very out of their own self-interest, but also just very rash in the past couple chapters, past 20 to 30 chapters. And I wonder if God is doing something similar to what he did with Uma Spring, kind of taking over their mind and making them act in a way which ensures his victory type shit. It ensures they're helping him in his goal of, having Ragnarok occur and having the entire world end. Because people like Rip having a mindset of, oh, maybe it wouldn't be that bad. If Rip gets out of the fight, that's one of the strongest negators you can have around. So that's one card off of God's table. People like a Nico betraying the Union, that's another card off God's table, and more than a card. It let Ragnarok occur quicker. It let the advantage the Union had over the god, especially in terms of postponing Ragnarok so they could accrue the other sacred treasures. It kind of took that advantage away as well, and those were the two things that they said was going to kind of help in ensuring they can defeat God. You know, that was the last two preparations they needed to make. So I don't know. I really think that it would make sense that God is, you know, still sticking his hand in the pot, stirring it up a little bit for certain individuals who don't have a will strong enough to truly fight him in that fight against him. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I have one question for y'all. Let me know how close y'all think we are to the next loop. I think it's getting closer and closer as we sit here, dog. It's gonna be real soon. But I don't know. I'm out of here. Need to edit. Hasta luego.